I am just waiting for some people to show up in the chat. And seeing if I'm going live. Well, I'm live, but nobody's here. Alright, I'll just start going through the stats. The best bike for your money, which, oh crap, it's not even showing up. It's the Philodo H8. That's 2000 watt, 1000 watts in the front, 22 amp hour battery. It says here it's $18.99. You save $300 from $21.99. But then if you go down here, which the screen isn't going, that's $17.99. So that's $1,800, and that's tax and everything included. I think my stream is really lagging. So if anybody's showing up and I don't see you, I'm oh. Anyways, it's $1,800, no tax or tax included. 2000 watts, all-wheel drive. It's got a 1000 watt motor in the front, and it's got a 1000 watt motor in the back. Like I said, it's 48 volt, 22 amp hour battery, and it's got the M5 LCD display, which isn't a great display, and it's not color, but it shows you everything you need and it's easy to navigate through. Super bright headlight, and the horn is built into the headlight. The horn is ear-piercing and annoying, which it should be. The suspension forks, there's, I think it was 110 millimeters of travel, and they seem like the zoom forks, which aren't bad. They're not really good, but they're about what you get on everything from $1,000 to probably $4,000. The hydraulic brakes, I believe it's a 170 millimeter disc, single piston. A Shimano 21 speed, which they should have just stuck with the single sprocket in the front, but and then the rear rack, it'll hold about 110 pounds. They say it's good for a rider from 5'2" to 6'4". I had my nieces on it, and I believe one is 5'4" and the other one's 5'5", and they did fine. And I'm 6'2", and it still fit me. Down to the specs. I already talked about the 100 watt motor in the front and the 1000 watt motor in the front, 1000 watt in the back. And I believe they were 83 Newton meters of torque. And the 22 amp hour 48 volt battery. The power assist level from 0 to 5, you can change that from 1 to 5 or from 1 to 9 also. Down here to the range, 40 to 62 miles. And I've done 35 miles on it and came back with half a battery. And probably 14 miles of that was just full throttle down the highway to get into town and full throttle coming back. 35 miles an hour, which if you're lighter than me, I can see 35. I've gotten up to 36 pedaling as fast as I could. And the weight capacity is 300 pounds. We already went over the 5'2" to 6'4". Rust-free aluminum frame. The front forks Oh yeah, it's adjustable with the lockout. The controllers, both of the controllers are 22 amps, which is, I mean, they could have went up to 40 amps with this bike and it would have been a lot faster. I mean, that's another maybe $300 if you wanted to upgrade those. The phone holder with the USB charge port, the 26 by 4-inch all-terrain tires, and that's a 26-inch bike. Already went over the brakes, brake levers with the power cutoff. Everything's got the power cutoff now, and the full coverage fenders. They do have a 2-year warranty on this. And it's kind of weird watching my screen go along, and then I look over and see what you guys are looking at, and you're 3 minutes behind me. So we'll go to the next bike. And this one I'm not going to spend much time on. GMC Hummer. It's not the GMC Hummer, it's the bicycle. It is all-wheel drive, and you're paying for a Hummer sticker on it. It's just way overpriced. It's $4,000 up to about $42,000, and you get that price difference because it comes with a 17.5 amp hour battery, which isn't going to make it a long distance bike. But if you want the larger battery, which is just smaller than the one that's on the H8, it brings the price up to the $4,200, which this bike isn't worth $4,200. It's got 750 watt motors, one in the front, one in the back, with 160 Newton meters of torque, which the 750 is smaller than the 1000 watt on the H8, and the 160, it's close to what you get on the H8. It's like 3 Newton meters less. And over the battery, 4-piston hydraulic brakes, so it does have better brakes. It's got a bigger rotor on it also, and the 4-inch tires, 5 levels of pedal assist, which that's probably, you can probably change that in there too. Most of them you can. And it says a range between 40 and 50 miles, which is pretty close to the H8. But it also says the top speed of 20 miles an hour, which is 15 miles an hour slower than the H8. You put somebody my size on here, they'd probably see 17, 18 miles an hour, which is fine for in the city. But if you're trying to get someplace, and you got to remember the price is, you can buy 2 of the other bikes for the same price as this bike that isn't as good, but it has really nice brakes. And still nobody in the chat. Move over to the E-Cells Super Monarch, which is a nice bike, but it's got a nice bike price. And remember, all these prices, they're before the tax, so this is a $5,500 bike. Right, and you head down here, it's got dual hub batteries or motors. It's dual suspension bike. Says it's a fast bike. They don't want to give you any of the specs. But I believe this has a 750 watt motor front and back. Instead of 80 Newton meters of travel, or millimeters of travel, there's a lot of travel in the forks. It's got a headlight. The specs. This is where it beats the H8. It's got two 750 watt 52 volt battery or motors in the wheels, 170 newton meters of torque, which is 7 newton meters more than the H8. And remember, it's a $5,500 bike. Yeah. See, and it's got the 45 amp controller, which the H8 should, but it's 22. Pedal assist, 9 levels of assist. Now with a torque sensor. And that's, some people like the torque sensor, some people like the cadence sensor. That's really not any better, not any worse, in my opinion. The torque sensor is more expensive if you break it and have to replace it. And if we get down to the batteries, that's the only real difference. Alright, it says it's got a 52 volt 17.5 amp hour battery, which is a little bit too small, but that's the front battery. And then you also have a 52 volt 14 amp hour rear rack battery, which gives it a lot of battery. But if you wanted that on the H8 or any other bike, that's like a $300 add-on, which doesn't add up to $55,000. And I'm not sure how it works out with the 45 amp controller and the 750 watt motors adding up to 2200 watts. It should actually be a little more than that. So this bike is dual suspension, dual batteries, a little bit smaller motors, but I think it's more bike. But you come back up here to the top, it's going to cost you after tax $5,500 and something dollars. You gotta, I mean, if you've got the extra money and paying over twice as much for the bike to get a little bit better bike, yeah, I mean, that's really up to your wallet. This bike, it's the Aerial Grizzly, which most people that are looking into the e-bikes have seen. And this one is also a dual battery bike. And it comes, I think these are 750 watt motors front and rear. And I don't see anybody's chats, if anybody's even here, which I guess not. But anyways, $3,300 with tax. That's gonna be $36, $37, which is $2,000 over the price of the H8. And this, I don't know how tall they're gonna tell you you can be to ride this yet, but these mini bike cafe racer style bikes, they're not made for pedaling. So if your battery dies and you're out, you got to get 5 miles home. Anybody who's been riding one for a long time isn't even going to try to pedal. They're just going to hop off and start pushing it. And you can drive through a field. I think we're just going to up to 75 miles per charge, which two 35 amp hour batteries. I believe the 75 miles per charge. It's got two 1000 watt motors like the H8. Much better batteries. Full suspension. Let's get down here. I really should have just skipped right to the specs, but I don't think they're going to have it. Here we go. Technical specs. Range 35 to 75, which you might be able to do on the H8. the half twist throttle, that's the same thing, and some people prefer the little thumb throttle, some people like the motorcycle style grip twist. So really, this just really beats it on the battery, but I looked into this style bike before I bought mine and was just really afraid that I was going to go riding down the road looking like I was riding on a kid's bike. But it's got the same power, probably a little, yeah, it had a little more torque, much better batteries, but for $3,500. We're coming down into much nicer prices. It's $1,700. That's just a little bit cheaper than the H8 with the standard battery, which is too small. Get the bigger battery. Now it's $3,300, but plus tax is going to bring you to probably 36, or yeah, 26, excuse me. Oh, if more people would show up and ask some questions, I'd have more to talk about. I like this picture though. I don't know how it's showing up on your computer, your phone, your TV, whatever you're looking at. But where are the tracks? If you rode this bike into the snow, where it looks like they picked it up and carried it out there and put it in the snow and got the picture. I don't know how the snow got on the tires. This one, with the big battery, it's got a 250 watt motor in the front and a 350 watt motor in the back, which I can't see it being very fast or very powerful, but with the big battery and the small motors, you should be able to get some good distance out of it. And it says in many states it's legally classified an electric bicycle as the vehicle doesn't exceed a total of 750 watts of power, which they kept that at 750 watts because 750 watts equals 1 horsepower. I don't know if it just keeps the math easy for them or what, but I'm not positive in all the states. You'd have to check your local guidelines, but where I am, it doesn't exceed a total of 750 watts. It says, or it states that, make sure I get the wording right, does not possess a motor over 750 watts. I think is exactly how it's written. It doesn't say you can't have 2 750 watt motors. It doesn't say you can't have 3 750 watt motors, as long as it's not over 750 watts. Which, if you really want to stay within the guidelines of the law, the H8, the motors are too big. So it's not actually legal, but I don't think anybody's going to have any problems with it, because it's not a 40-mile-an-hour bike that you're zipping through traffic. It's staying pretty close to the limits you're supposed to be in. Oh yeah, it's 45 newton meters for the front and 60 newton meters for the back. So that's not a whole lot of torque. It'll probably be enough to get up and over the hills, like on the highway overpasses and stuff, though. But like I said, this is going to be $600 or $700 more than the H8, which has got a ton more power. And the motor selector switch, that is nice. I wish the H8 had it. So you could switch the motor from using the front motor to both motors, or just the front motor or whatever. But it doesn't have to switch. I started to check to see if I could put one on there. I know I can, but I don't really want to get into the wires too much yet. But they say on, I don't know if they said it on their website or if I wrote to them and asked them, I said just unplug the motor if you don't want to use it. Which, I mean, if you're trying to get more miles out of the bike, you just unplug one of the motors. Make sure that the cable's not going to get stuck anywhere and go. I don't know what the range would do, but I don't think it would double, but it would go up pretty fast. See, and these guys did it right. They put one sprocket in the front. But doesn't say how big it is though. Most of them come, the sprocket is too small. By the time you get up to the top speed of the bike, you can't pedal fast enough to help. Range 35 plus miles with a single hub motor. That's horrible. That's what it should be getting with both. And actually it should be getting more with both. That must be with the small battery. And it's only got a 15 amp controller. That's why you don't have any torque. Yeah, see here, the top speed 20 miles an hour. So I mean, you get the bigger battery, only use one hub, go 15 miles an hour slower, and you still get the same range. That's horrible. And it's the price of a really cheap bike, more than the H8. Oh, and I'm getting these really slow. But anyways, I mean, if you were trying to save money, I mean, you could get a 20 mile an hour bike that's going to get the range of this a lot cheaper than $2,500 after tax. And we'll go to the next bike, which I forget which one this is. Oh, this is the money saver. But it's, actually I forgot how much it was. $17. Oh yeah, you saved $300, but I'm sure that's before tax, so you probably save $100 by getting the PWR dually all-wheel drive e-bike. And I've forgotten all the specs about this, so alright, it's got an aluminum frame, RST guide, 95 millimeters of travel, lockout preload adjustment forks, and it's got hydraulic brakes on it for that price. Oh, it's got nice big rotors on it for the brakes, front and rear. It's got a 9-speed cassette in the back. I'm guessing it's got one, yeah, one in the front. That's why it's got the 9-speed in the back. And you get a 48 volt 500 watt motor in the front, one in the back. This is just below the cutoff for a fat tire bike. This is the only one with the smaller tires. Oh, let me get something that matters. Not the seat post. 60 newton meters of torque. Size were those? 500 watts, 60 newton meters. That's not bad amount of torque for the size of the motors. It's a little more than half of what comes on, well, most of them I was just talking about. And that is not right. 48 volt 500 watt times 2 for the controller. Does not have a 500 watt controller on it. Oh, and the battery, that's terrible. 14 amp hours for 48 volts. But this is the cheapest bike out of the pack in this guy's review. I haven't ridden yet. 5 stars. When I need customer support, then I will state my opinion. Alright. And I don't really want to tell you too much about this one, but it's the cheapest of the bunch. It's probably about $100 less than the H8 after you add taxes in. So, I guess that's it for the bikes that I found. There's not too many all-wheel drive bikes out there, but for $1,800, and that's after taxes, well, taxes and shipping and everything included. That's your total price for a 2,000 watt, 35 mile an hour bike. I did months worth of research, and this is the best for the money I could find. I started out, I'm not going to spend over $1,000. Okay, I'm not going to spend over $1,400. I found this, and actually I got this bike when I bought it. It was $15.99. And I don't know what to advise you to wait for it to go back down to $15.99 or to buy it now before it's over $2,000. But I do have a link to it under my video. Actually, I don't right now. I've got to go put it in. And I do get some money if you buy the bike through that link. It's not enough money for me to tell you to run out and buy it without it being the best bike that I found. So if you do buy the bike, just make sure you use my link. It'll help my channel grow. Maybe I can get some accessories to put on it or something. And thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe. Leave a comment if you watch this after it's live. And hit the bell so you don't miss any of my next videos. Thanks for watching.